Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavan Shri Govinda Gopinatha Madana Mohan Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Kalindi Jamuna Jaya Jaya Mahava Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Jai Jai Prabhupada Jai Jai Gurudev Prabhupada ki jai. Do Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome. So today we'll be reading from the light of the Bhagavata as usual on a Thursday. And the verse goes as follows. The rainy season has come to an end. It's the light of Bhagavata, verse 29. The rainy season has come to an end. The autumn season began and there were no more clouds in the sky. All the reservoirs of water became crystal clear. and the wind was no longer forceful. Lord Krishna, together with his elder brother Lord Balaram, lived in Vrindavan in this auspicious season. So we'll just read the purport and see what Prabhupada is saying here, and then we'll make a few comments as well as we go along. So the purport goes as follows. When the sky is clear of clouds, there is no longer any distinction between the portion of the sky that was covered and that which was never covered. Similarly, the living entities, now covered by the modes of material nature, is freed from ignorance, passion, and so-called goodness. He becomes one with the absolute truth. I'll read that again. Similarly, when the living entities, now covered by the modes of material nature, is freed from ignorance, passion, and so-called goodness, he becomes one with the absolute truth. Such oneness is called mukti, or freedom from the miseries of life. There are 5 different kinds of mukti. Impersonalists prefer to merge into the existence of the transcendence, but the personalists or devotees do not annihilate their individuality. And thus the devotees of the Lord individually enjoy spiritual variegatedness on the planets of the spiritual sky. The spiritual sky is also the material sky is also the spiritual sky, but it is covered by the modes of material nature. This material nature is also a temporary creation of the Lord, as a cloud is a creation of the sun. When the cloud of the material modes is cleared off, the material nature is said to have been annihilated. There are 2 kinds of living entities, namely the conditioned and the pure. It is for the conditioned living entities that the material nature is created, and the conditioned souls are put into it to become pure, unconditioned souls. Those who become unconditioned by devotional service enter into the spiritual kingdom, and those who lose their chance rot in dormant material conditions, sometimes manifest and sometimes unmanifest. Lord Shri Krishna descends to reclaim the conditioned souls. So, dear devotees, I've been pondering and, going over this this purport a lot, and Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that when the living entities are freed from the modes of passion, ignorance, and goodness, so-called goodness, he says, then he becomes one with the absolute truth, meaning that we become one in quality, not in quantity. And the absolute truth is humongous and is compared to an ocean, and we are like a drop in the ocean. So if you take a drop out of the ocean and you analyze its content, it's similar to the big ocean. So we are just a minute, spark, basically. And if you take another analogy, the minute spark and compared to a big fire, right? So these are analogies that's given to compare the Supreme Lord with us, the Jivas, the living entity. So now many people are under the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, and are filled with lust, anger, greed, envy, jealousy, and hatred. That's the nature of this world, right? That we are living in, filled with hypocrisy and quarrel over trivials. Like in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated, Pranal Payusha Sabhya Kalu Asmin Yuge Jana Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Yupadritaha. The translation is, O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. So we find, people in this world, they're always disturbed. even devotees, sometimes they become disturbed. They're not in proper consciousness. So basically this is, and when they basically go out of the association of devotees, then their minds become disturbed. But we're talking about people in general, who live in this world and are not God conscious. They engage in so many sinful activities, and they're on the bodily concept of life. Like just by having all these qualities, envy, jealousy, hatred, anger, greed, and all of these things, it could lead to sinful life, sinful activities. Take, for example, somebody is envying another person, then that could lead to frustration, because you want what that person have, what that person possesses. You desire it, but your desires are not met. And it could lead to you becoming frustrated, and this could lead to crime and maybe murder, right? So sinful activities. These modes are so entrenched in the living entities that, it's so difficult to get rid of. But we have hope as devotees. We have hope because the nectar of devotion says that the proclivity to sin is in the heart, and we need to uproot the sin. And how do we uproot the sin? By chanting the holy names of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By listening to the glories of Krishna from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, this can actually uproot the sins from the heart. A verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam that says, Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha Smartavyas Chechutapayam. O descendant of the king of Bharat, one who desires to be freed from all miseries must hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the controller and savior from all miseries. So, dear devotees, if we want to uproot the sin, we can, chanting the holy names is one of them, engaging in devotional service, but more important is hearing, right? Hearing the scriptures, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, right? To uproot all these contamination from the heart. So one must hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead, controller and savior from all miseries. And then there's another verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 1, Canto 1, chapter 2, text 70. Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ridi Antes To Abhadrani Vidut Noti Suritatam. Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are virtuous when heard and chanted. So these are beautiful verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam, all glorifying the hearing process, how hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is so vital for our spiritual life, for us to make progress in our spiritual life, right? And not only hearing, but when we hear, we need to apply this knowledge. And when we personally apply this knowledge in our lives, then transformation of the heart takes place. Right, so dear devotees, we need to take shelter of the Srimad Bhagavatam in this day and age, in this Kali Yuga. The Srimad Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna. When Krishna left the splendors at the end of Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga set in, and he left behind the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, his holy names as given to us by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? Kali Kala Nama Rupa Krishna Avatar, that Krishna has descended in his holy names in this age of Kali. So we need to take shelter. And people say, show me God. Here is God in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in his holy names. Take it, apply it in your life, and make your life successful. But people won't do this. Therefore, the devotees go out and distribute these books, and also give out the holy names for people to hear the holy names in order to purify their hearts to some degree, so they can come to the level of Krishna consciousness. And those of us who are practicing devotees are living testimonies that Krishna is here in these forms, in his holy names, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Bhagavad Gita. How? Because our lives are becoming transformed, right? What we were before becoming devotees and now, are too different. We can feel the transformation taking place in our lives. So Srila Prabhupada said he's turning hippies into happies, right? When he was he started the movement in New York, and in the 60s, it was the hippie culture, right? Counterculture, and most of the people from there became devotees, and he transformed them. Even externally, their appearance changed and was transformed. From looking like a hobo on the street, they became effulgent like Vaikuntavasis, right? With a shaved head and the tilak and their dhotis and kurtas and saris. So in this way, they became transformed. We see also, one second. My computer, as usual, is giving me some endless problems. So anyway. I won't be long, please bear with me. Yeah, so sorry about that. So, when we don't follow Guru's orders, then false ego sets in. And we think that, I want to do it my way or the highway. So this is the false ego. If we make a mistake, it's so difficult for us to say, I'm sorry. We may be bosses in the material circles, but when it comes to Guru and when it comes to spiritual life, we should always think that I am a fool. In front of my spiritual master, I am a fool. That's the only way one can advance, when we think that, I'm nothing. My spiritual master has been practicing for so many years, and he's been through all these trials and tribulations, and therefore he is self-realized, and he's giving me this knowledge. And, and we need to surrender to his lotus feet, and in this way make progress in our spiritual life. So, even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that my spiritual master called me a fool. So what are we then? If the Lord can say that, the Supreme Personality of Godhead can say that, and here we are thinking, oh, he is not Guru. If he gives us an instruction we cannot follow, he is not Guru. Or if there's some altercation with devotees, we think, oh, what does he know? He is not sure. He's a rascal. Why should we follow Guru's orders? So this is the mentalities that devotees have today. What is this? We need to get out of this mindset and surrender at every step, or we make maha aparad. And you know what happens when we make maha aparad? We leave the association of devotees. And this is Krishna's punishment to those who commit aparad, is that he removes you from the association of devotees. And that's the most painful thing for devotees, is to be removed from the association of devotees. So devotees, we must be very, very careful to protect our bhakti lata, the creeper of devotional service. We must protect it And by hearing and chanting and, getting rid of this boss mentality, the false ego, right? And becoming humble. Trinadapi sune chena taro api sahisuna amani namana dena kirtaniya sadahari. That we should become more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. And, and so in this way we can chant the holy names of the Lord constantly if we become like this. But no, our false ego sets in and we think that, I am great, if we think like this, then, we cannot enter into the spiritual sky, right? This is our biggest illusion when we think like this. And this is the trappings of Maya. She traps us in this material world. This is the dark material sky compared to the effulgent spiritual sky that's filled with bliss and knowledge. So we must be very, very careful to protect our Bhakti Lata beach, our creeper of devotional service, and let it fructify and rest, come to rest at the lotus feet of Krishna. Otherwise, we just be drowning in this whirlpool of material existence. So now we spoke so much about the material world. I just want to read something from an excerpt or from a book actually by Dinabandhu Prabhu, and it's called Rajalila. And here we'll just take you on a small parikram now to the spiritual world, to Surya Kund actually. So get ready, right? We're going to Surya Kund, and there we're going to read what, so this is Maharaj or Dinabandhu Prabhu. He basically writes the way he talks, right? So let's read and get some nectar from Surya Kund. So he says, there's another important place near Radhakund, and that is known as Surya Kund. This was one of the few places where Radharani could meet Krishna without any fear of her mother-in-law Jatila and her sister-in-law Kutila. What happened was, Purnamasi told Mother Jatila that if Radharani would worship Surya, then Jatila's son Abhimanyu would become very wealthy and healthy and wise. So Jatila decided that Radharani must worship Surya. But Radharani is never very happy about all these different arrangements her mother-in-law makes. Anyway, Jatila and Kutila went out looking for some brahmanas to do the puja. Suddenly, they saw two very nice brahmacharis. One is obviously the guru, and the other is the disciple. They with their padukas, wooden shoes, with the little peg in the center, and are carrying their books under their arm. Very respectable brahmacharis and pandits. Jatila said, "Are you sons of the brahmanas?" They said, "Yes." "Where do you come from? Whose sons are you?" "We're the sons of Garga Acharya." She was amazed and very satisfied. Then she said, "We're looking for some qualified brahmanas to do puja for us." You must have figured it out by now that the guru is Krishna and the disciple is Madhu Mangal. He said, "We are strict brahmacharis from birth, so we can't get involved with women and all. It's only in our interest we can't help you. It's only in our interest we can't help you." So then you're even more qualified. We don't want to do the puja by ourselves. We want you to do the puja for our daughter-in-law. No, we don't have anything to do with women. And anyway, we are very sattvika brahmanas. We don't worship any Devi and Devatas. We only worship Surya. But that's exactly what we want. We want you to worship. We want you to worship the Surya Puja. We want you to do the Surya Puja. Then the Guru said, everything my disciple said is true, but we'll make an exception in this case. You come to Surya Kund temple on Sunday and we'll be there. So Jatila and Kutila ran back to Javed. They told Radharani, we found the most wonderful pandits to do the puja for you. They're strict brahmacharis from birth, and this is very wonderful. So Radharani didn't want to go, but they forced her. You must go. It is for the benefit of your husband, Abhimanyu. You have to do this. So they dragged her off to Surya Kund on Sunday. When Radharani got to Surya Kund, she immediately recognized who the priests were and had to pull her sari over her face. Then the two brahmacharis began to chant these very interesting mantras. Mother Jatila had never heard these mantras before. They were composed in such a way that it appeared that Radharani was worshipping Surya. But the mantras could be interpreted in another way so that she was actually worshipping Krishna by these mantras. Madhumangal was chanting the mantras and the puja was going on. Radharani could understand the meaning of the mantras, so she was trying to hide her smile while worshipping very nicely. Mother Chatila was so amazed and said, I have never heard such wonderful mantras. Madhumangal explained that they come from a secret scriptures. They come from very secret scriptures. These are very special mantras and only we know because we're specializing in the Surya Puja. Jatila and Kutila were very happy and said, all right, we must give you some dakshin. The Guru said, no, Brahmanas should not be anxious for doing business. We don't want anything in return. We're simply happy to worship Lord Surya. No, without dakshin, there is no question of any puja being complete. We have to give you dakshina. Madhumangal said, no, my Guru can't accept anything, especially as it is coming from women. We don't want to have anything. No, I have to give you some dakshin. I want to give you this wonderful necklace belonging to Radharani. No, my Guru never touches anything from women. No, we have to give you dakshin. How will the puja be complete? My Guru will never touch, but on his behalf, I can find some good use for it, especially those laddus. Because they brought so many laddus for Surya Puja, Madhumangal accepted the laddus and the locket from Radharani and bound them up in his dhoti. Mother Jatila said, we want that our daughter-in-law will come here every Sunday because you are very strict brahmacharis. We have no worries. So we will send her alone every Sunday. It was agreed that Radharani would come there every Sunday alone to do Surya Puja with these strict brahmacharis. Then they left Surya Kund. It's interesting because as Radharani was leaving, she and her two friends, the Sakhis who had come with her, walked behind her so that on the pretext of turning her back to talk to them, she could keep seeing Krishna. And she went home like that. So many places are there around Radhakund. So this is just a short pastime of Radharani meeting Krishna at Suryakund. So dear devotees, we'll stop there now, but I want you to actually ponder about these points that I made earlier about this material sky, and how we actually want to progress in our spiritual lives, in order to reach the spiritual sky, right, to the end of this lifetime. So thank you very much for that. Hare Krishna. If you have anything you'd like to contribute or any questions, you may ask now.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Denton. How are you?
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for a lovely lecture. I didn't know that about, I knew about Radha Kun, but I didn't know about Surya Kun. So I've learned a lot today, you know. It was,
Yes.
I didn't know that pastime. It was like very new to me and very interesting. Yes, so thank you very much for the knowledge and the blessings. Hare Krishna.
Anyone else? Paramatma Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful class. Now, Maharaj, I think when you said that, you know, we need to be Krishna consciousness and follow devotional service to clear out all our miseries, that's something that we need to do more and more because, you know, day by day, there's more and more miseries coming for us. So that's something that we need to take to heart, that we need to be more focused on our spiritual activities. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Yes, yes, we're living in this material world, so you know, devotees also go through miseries you know, from time to time. So we should, you know, hear more Bhagavatam, like this, chant more rounds, you know, in order to be free from this miserable condition of this material world. Right. Thank you, Paramatma Prabhu. Nayana Gopi.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for such a wonderful lecture today. I thoroughly enjoyed it. As Denton Prabhu said, I was not aware of Surya Kund, I only knew of Radha Kund and Shama Kund. But it's whatever you said today, Mataji, is like so relevant today as well. Because as the other Prabhu said, this world is becoming like a misery to actually live in. And the only way we are going to make it through is by chanting and hearing and just continuing with our devotional service, whether we do it at temple or at home, you know. It's so important for me as an individual to continue as well. Thank you so much, Mataji, for this lecture. I really enjoyed it. Hare Krishna.
Yes, actually, devotional service or this process of Krishna consciousness is an oasis in this desert of materialism, right? There is like, you know, it's actually, or these temples are actually the embassies to the spiritual world. So yes, we should take more association of devotees, and, you know, in this way we can get out of this miserable material world that's, you know, we're entrapped in. Thank you, Nayana Manjari. If there's nothing else, we can do a short kirtan before we wrap up.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, I got a question. You know, you mentioned we need to, I think you mentioned we need to detach from the mode of goodness. Could you explain more about what is the mode of goodness and how we can, well, you mentioned devotional service frees us from that, but can you define mode of goodness? Because sometimes I hear that we need to go into the mode of goodness, and then you say we need to detach from the mode of goodness.
Yes, devotees are basically in the mode of goodness, you know, so that only then can you actually take up to spiritual life if you're in the mode of goodness. But we also need to get out of this mode of goodness, right? Prabhupada says it's so-called goodness. We need to come to the platform of Suddha Sattva, or pure goodness, right? Pure goodness. So in order to reach the spiritual world, because the mode of goodness also binds you to this material world. It's also a binding factor in this material world, mode of goodness. But Suddha Sattva, those activities which are transcendental to the modes, those are Krishna conscious activities, right? And it's on the transcendental platform. It's not in the modes. So yes. But in order to come to that level, we have to be on the mode of goodness to come to devotional service, and then, you know, transcend even the mode of goodness. And as I said, the process that Srila Prabhupada has given us, the 9 processes of bhakti, basically, will actually get us out of this these modes and situate us on the transcendental platform, like hearing the pastimes of Krishna. It takes you to another level, right? Like as you were saying, you never hear about Surya Kund before, and now when I related the pastime of Surya Kund, then that's on a transcendental plane, you know. So yes, so we need to get out of the mode of goodness as well, because mode of goodness is also binding us to this material world, right? And we need to transcend these modes, mode of passion, ignorance, and goodness. The goodness, passion, and ignorance. Is that fine, Paramahansa?
Yes, thank you, Maj. Thank you so much. And Maj, isn't the mode of goodness is even worshipping the demigods? Isn't that Maj? From the Bhagavad Gita?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Mode of, you can worship the demigods as well. And
Okay.
by worshiping the demigods, you know, you come to the process of worshiping Krishna. You know, because the demigods are the servants of Krishna, and they will bring you to Krishna's lotus feet, right? Because they also want you to worship the Supreme Lord. Okay? So like most of us coming from Hindu backgrounds, and we were worshiping the demigods, and you know by their blessings, we actually became devotees, right?
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we'll do a little kirtana. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Gopshamanande, Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, devotees. See you next week.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.